Whether you're looking for a scenic drive, or a day hike, the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area will not disappoint. It's a place of wide vistas, moss-draped waterfalls, and epic wildflowers. Today's video is a guide to exploring this deeply special place. Tailor your plans to the seasons to catch hills covered in golden leaves. Waterfalls filled with peak rains. And fabulous wildflowers. Find out the best roadside viewpoints. And the top hikes that take in the gorge's scenic treasures. Learn how the landscape dramatically changes as you drive the gorge's 80-mile span. If you enjoy this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more adventures in the Pacific Northwest. Check the video description for links to our videos with more detail on the individual hikes and viewpoints highlighted here. The Columbia River Gorge forms the border of Oregon and Washington state. During the Ice Age, huge floods cut through the gorge, forming the dramatic waterfall-laced canyon we know today. If you're driving, the fastest way through the gorge is to take the freeway on the Oregon side, I-84. This is hands down the most scenic freeway I've seen, even if we occasionally get stuck behind a Cheeto truck. If you have more time, consider taking the historic Columbia River Highway, marked in red here. Traveling from the west, the historic highway begins at the junction of the Sandy River. The highway parallels the river, but stop to stretch your legs and check out the cool bridge over the river. On the other side of the bridge, you'll find the popular Sugar Pine Drive-In and Glen Otto Community Park, where you might spot water birds enjoying the river. Continue along the historic highway, passing cliffs, houses, and farms. And make a stop at the Portland Women's Forum State Scenic Viewpoint. The overlook boasts a view of the historic Vista House perched on Crown Point. Vista House itself is a must-see viewpoint just off the historic highway. Just a heads up that the wind here can be as phenomenal as the view. After Vista House, the focus shifts to waterfalls. The historic highway crosses a creek just below the first major waterfall, the Tailor Falls. Take a very short walk for an up-close view of the lower falls. Or a 2-mile loop hike to take in the mossy forest and the upper falls. For those interested in roadside stops versus full-length hikes, Bridal Veil Falls is the next highlight. It's less than a mile out and back to explore this waterfall and the mossy creek below it. Just down the road from Bridal Veil, you'll find one of the most well-known view hikes on the Oregon side, Angel's Rest. This 4.5-mile, largely uphill hike leads to a standout view. The 2017 Eagle Creek wildfire burned over this area pretty badly, so for a hike with a similar vibe but without the wildfire damage, I'd actually recommend Hamilton Mountain on the Washington side of the gorge. Stay tuned for more on that hike later in this video. That brings us to the most heavily trafficked part of the gorge, the Multnomah Falls area. The admittedly awesome Multnomah Falls is visible from the parking lot and nearly always jam-packed with crowds. But don't skip it. Take the trail up beyond the falls for a 5-mile loop hike that takes you away from the crowds and to 5 more waterfalls. Not far down the road from Multnomah Falls, you can't miss Horsetail Falls. If you're not into hiking, this is a fabulous roadside waterfall. But if you're up for a 4-mile hike, you can reach sweeping views and 3 more waterfalls, including the unique Triple Falls. Heads up that this area also has heavy fire damage. After the historic Columbia River Highway rejoins I-84, the next standout waterfall is Wacklela Falls. This is one of the most scenic short hikes around, at 2 miles out and back. The trail travels through a deep, mossy canyon to reach the waterfall. It may seem like there are getting to be a lot of waterfall hikes, but the next one is one of the gorge's most famous, Eagle Creek. The trail is cut into the cliffside of a deep canyon filled with uncountable waterfalls. The farther you go, the more dramatic, but also vertigo-inducing, the hike gets. The 2017 wildfire that burned over so much of the Oregon side of the gorge started on this trail, but it's still one of the best hikes around. Plan for a full day for this hike alone, as you may find it hard to turn around. A popular turnaround point is Tunnel Falls, which makes for a 12-mile out and back hike. You'll find the waterfalls fullest in spring and fall here, and on the other gorge hikes. but in summer, head down into the canyon on the cutoff trail to Punchbowl Falls. This one requires a bit of a rock hop across the stream. For more details, see our Punchbowl Falls video at the link in upper right. There are many more waterfall hikes on the Oregon side, but these are my top recommendations. If you have time to explore further, Dry Creek Falls and Starvation Creek are fun hikes to very nice waterfalls. I'd recommend doing the others first because the trail to Dry Creek Falls has a lot of fire damage. And while the Starvation Creek hike packs in 4 waterfalls, it's too close to the freeway. As you continue east on I-84, you'll notice the landscape begins to shift from moss-laden forest to green open grasslands. If you continue far enough, the green fields will give way next to wide deserts, a reminder that the Columbia River Gorge cuts a path from one side of the Cascade Mountains to the other, linking very different ecosystems. In the transition zone, you'll find magnificent green meadows that burst into fields of wildflowers in the spring. On the Oregon side, Rowena Crest is a popular spot to see the spring wildflower display, with both a roadside viewpoint and hiking options. Across the river, the Washington side of the gorge is no less spectacular. With fewer sheer cliffs but many fabulous views and no significant wildfire damage, the Washington side is not to miss. Like on the Oregon side, the Washington side's transition zone between east and west is filled with wildflower meadows in spring. Just off the main road, Highway 14, you'll find the Coyote Wall Trailhead, one of my favorite spring hiking areas and a top spot for balsam root wildflowers. Leave time for a longer hike here. My favorite route is just under 7 miles. Further west, you'll find possibly the most popular wildflower hike in the gorge, Dog Mountain. It's so spectacular that permits are required during peak season. It's also very steep, so be ready for a workout. To find wildflowers in peak bloom, I'd recommend using the Northwest Wildflowers Bloom Map at nwwildflowers.com/map. The colors of the points on the map indicate the expected bloom status by date. Wildflowers aren't the only spectacular feature of the Washington side. One of my favorite all-around hikes is the 6.5-mile Hamilton Mountain Trail. It packs in fabulous views and also a lush forest with top waterfalls. This is the hike I'd recommend instead of Angel's Rest if you only have time for one of them. Just across the road from the Hamilton Mountain Trailhead is one of the most unusual hikes around, the 2-mile trek up the side of Beacon Rock. From the Oregon side, you'll likely notice these conspicuous cliffs across the river. These are the cliffs of Cape Horn, and they're a favorite nesting ground for peregrine falcons. The full 6.4-mile Cape Horn loop can actually only be completed for part of the year because it's partially closed during peregrine falcon breeding season. The trail offers another chance for sweeping views over the river. Thanks for joining us in the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. In future, we plan to explore more of the gorge's human history, including its roles as a key fishing and trading center for Native Americans, the final leg of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and the final leg of the Oregon Trail. Remember to give this a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.